I'm Jan Horgis, and this is my game, Legacy of the Stars, a space empire building game inspired by classic 4X space games like Master of Orion, Galactic Civilizations, and others. In Legacy of the Stars, each player will be controlling one of 8 unique factions, racing to rebuild human civilization after a devastating galactic civil war. And the goal of the game is to be the faction whose legacy will shape humanity's future. So you will be scrambling to collect these legacy cards. There are 6 kinds of legacy cards, and they are essentially your victory points. They're all earned in a different way, and each has a unique special power. The legacy of expansion is earned by controlling a lot of planets. The legacy of empire is earned by having well-developed planets. The legacy of enlightenment, earned by researching technology. Extermination, by conquering your neighbors. The legacy of exploration is earned by opening the ancient warp gate network that used to connect the galaxy. And the legacy of the Exalted is earned by defeating the Exalted Guardians, ancient AI war machines that still guard the galaxy's most valuable planets. So what makes Legacy of the Stars special? First off, this is a game with no dice and almost no chance or hidden information at all. Your tools in this fight are pure strategy and diplomacy. Even more importantly though, this is a game that can be played with 4 players start to finish in about 3 hours. Make no mistake though, this is an epic space opera, empire building 4X style game. It asks for long-term planning and emotional investment, but it's also simple enough to explain to your friends and respectful enough to fit into your evening. Let me show you. At the beginning of a game of Legacy of the Stars, each player will have their homeworld on the galaxy map with a starting ship or 2 depending on their faction. They'll have a player board that outlines their faction power, their fleet supply, their starting resources, and they'll have a hand of action cards. Now these action cards are the heart and soul of the game. They're what you might call the core mechanics. So here's what you're going to do on your turn. The turn order is just as simple as this. Number 1, play an action card. Do the action on the card. That's easy. I gather some data. Number 2, discard a card. And you're done. That's it. Play 1, discard 1, that's your turn. So for example, I have these 7 action cards in my starting hand. My first turn I gathered data and discarded recruit colonists. My second turn I build ships. I spend some of these. I build some ships. Boom. I discard colonize. My third turn I deploy the fleet. I move my ships. Get some salvage. Boom. I discard research. Fourth turn comes around. I don't really want to extract materials. So here's the one wrinkle. At the beginning of each turn, if you don't want to play a card in your hand, you can instead pay resources, depending on the number of cards remaining in your hand, to pick up everything you've played and discarded so far. So I have 1 card left in my hand. I pay 1 resource. I'll pick a data, pay that. I get to pick up everything and start all over again. So maybe I'll gather more data. Choosing which actions to take and which options to keep open, when to play your hand out and when to drop resources to get your actions back sooner, is a big part of the strategy in Legacy of the Stars. You start with 7 cards, 3 for gathering the game's 3 resource types, 3 for spending those resources, and 1 move card for moving your ships and attacking. But by the end of the game, through your choices of technology, of covert operations, of leaders, your hand will have changed. It might have more cards, it might have less. Some cards have effects when discarded. Some let you pick up other cards or mess with other players. Just as much as your ships and your planets on the map, this hand of cards is the engine of your empire. When you play an empire game, do you like starting next to a crazed warmonger with a military faction and have them just take you out of the game? I have something you might like better. These are the Glory and Vengeance tracks. Now Glory, on the one hand, can make warmongering much more profitable, so long as you pick on someone your own size. Vengeance, on the other hand, puts extra resources into the hands of players who are attacked repeatedly or picked on by stronger neighbors. It's always nice when the rules disincentivize being a jerk. Finally, I'll mention the Legacy track. Now this tracks how many legacy cards each player has, and it triggers story events. So first contact is made and the factions start spying on each other. One faction is the first to make a name for themselves, gaining glory, while others gain vengeance. Now leaders enter the fray, giving powerful, unique abilities for the mid-game. And finally, as the clock ticks down, the factions further behind get a final boost, which might just allow one of them to stage a comeback. That's all I can fit into 5 minutes. I hope I've whetted your appetite, and I hope you're excited to try Legacy of the Stars for yourself. I've been working on it for a year now. It's really fun and people like it. Thanks for watching, and may your legacy shape humanity's future.